Hello and welcome to another episode of Do You Want More, a UFC stat show right here on the Monkmatics channel. I am your host Monk, aka the Monkmatician, and in this week's episode, we are going to break down the main card, all 6 fights for UFC Vegas 38, Johnny Walker versus Thiago Santos. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alexander Hernandez and Mike Breeden are opening up the main card here. Hernandez, 5'9", 72-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 28, almost 29 years old, probably 29 here by the time the fight card actually goes off. 12-4 professionally, 4-3 in the UFC. 44% of his fights go the distance. 44% of his fights end by KO TKO, 5-4, 2 against, and 12.5% of his fights have been ended by submission, 2 wins. Average fight time 9.5 minutes, just under that. Ass whooping index, 2.94, so about average for the division. Decent power index, 0.85, that's 21st out of 76. And then the Chindex, 50th out of 76, so not a great number, 0.4. Mike Breeden, 5'10", 70-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 32 years old. He's 10-3 in the UFC. He is actually this is his UFC debut. He does have a Dana White Contender Series fight, which I usually do not track. But if I don't have any other fights to go off of, then I'll take those stats over nothing. 30% of his fights have gone the distance. 70% of his fights have been ended by way of KO TKO. 8 wins, 1 loss. His fight in the Dana White Contender Series did go 15 minutes. He got his ass whooped, minus 6.92 ass whoop index, 65th out of 76. No knockdowns for or against. Hernandez opened minus 300, widest line on the card. He's currently minus 359, not getting any more narrow. This fight is minus 175, does not go to decision. Breeden opened up at plus 250. He's currently plus 283. I'm capping this 75 Hernandez, 25 Breeden, pretty much. I don't see too much more value on Hernandez here at that wide line, minus 359. So I'm probably not touching that at all. Couple of finishes for Hernandez, for and against. Let's see here. Striking data. If I say strikes, I mean significant strikes. 3.57 strikes landed per minute. 36% accuracy. Gets outstruck, though. 3.81 landed against per minute. 59% defense. That is a negative 0.24 strikes per minute landed differential. Not a great number. 51 out of 76 there. Negative 5% striking efficiency. 80% of his total fight time has been fought at distance. We're not really going to cover these Mike Breeden stats towards the lower end of the division as far as striking goes. He has spent 94% of his one fight fighting at distance. So there's that number there for you. 2 knockdowns for Hernandez, 1 against. No knockdowns for or against for Breeden. Takedown data. Hernandez lands 1.6 takedowns per 15 minutes at a 38.9% accuracy. Gets hit with 0.69 takedowns per 15 minutes, 62.5% defense. Not great, not terrible. 42 out of 76 in the division there. 1.39% takedown efficiency for Alexander Hernandez. Mike Breeden, 0 for 4 as far as takedowns thrown. Had 2 takedowns landed against him in his one fight. 77% defense, so he did stuff 7 of 9 takedowns in that one fight. Control time, let's see here. 2-1 for Hernandez. 13.74 to 7% against. Of the 20.73% of his total fight time, he's fought inside the distance. He's controlled 66.3% of that fight time. So pretty decent number there. Has a okay get up time, 1.5 minutes, and a decent hold, not great actually, hold down time, 77 seconds. That is 51st out of 76th in the lightweight division. Breeden, control time. He is out controlling his opponents, but just barely. 3.6 to 2.7. Only spent 6% of his total fight time inside the distance, and he has controlled over half of that total fight time there. His get up time is the quickest in the division, 12.5 seconds. But a very small sample size. Advanced significant striking data, these numbers are all Hernandez, and it's not really even close, except for the head strikes landed per minute. Distance strikes landed per minute also goes to Breeden. But everywhere else, it's pretty much Hernandez. Efficiency, not great numbers from Hernandez, but 2 of the 3 are better than Breeden, and his differentials are better everywhere. I mean, Breeden gets outstruck by almost 2 strikes a minute at distance, 1 to the head, 1 to the legs. Last 5 fights we can look at for Hernandez. He is 2-3 in his last 5. He has a negative ass whoop index, though, so that has fallen off. Power index is 0.53, Chindex 0.44. Mike Breeden's numbers are all the same from above, or as above, I should say. And then strength of schedule, looking pretty good here for Hernandez. You know, we're right at that 70 to 75 mark. Right where you want to see, you know, towards the middle of the card as far as strength of schedule goes. And then Mike Breeden has a 100 strength of defeat. Apparently this Anthony Romero character has never lost a fight outside of his last 5. Or in his last 5 outside of Mike Breeden, I should say. Hernandez lost to the likes of Thiago Moses, Drew Dober, and Donald Cerrone. Beat Francisco Trinaldo in a very close fight. And whooped the shit out of Chris Grutzmacher. Couple of graphs to take a look at. Hernandez trending up as far as striking goes. Opponents trending down, but he still has some work to do as he is getting outstruck. Takedown numbers, decent, and his opponents are trending down. And then control time could definitely use some work. He is trending down, but so are his opponents. Mike Breeden, only 1 fight, so we don't really have to look at those graphs. And then we'll finish it out here with the visual statistical recap. Actually kind of turn this light a little bit. There we go. Let's see here. So yeah, Alexander kind of got Breeden beat here for the most part, except for time at distance and then that takedown defense. But also, again, very small sample size. And then the fight finishing metrics here, and then the strength of schedule. And then the aggregate win-loss finish rates kind of maybe helps clue you in as to if a fight's going to finish inside the distance or not. So you can kind of take a look at that. Go ahead and pause it if I'm going too fast, but for brevity's sake, I'm trying to keep this quick. Aspen Ladd going against Macy Chiasson. Ladd, 5'6", 66-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 26 years old, 9-1 professionally, 4-1 in the UFC. 20% of her fights go the distance. 70% of her fights have come by way of knockout ending. 6 for her, and then 1 against. And then she did finish 1 fight by submission. 7.5 minutes, just under that for her average fight time. Second quickest in the division. She has a top 5 ass whoop index of 11.23, top 5 power index of 0.52, but a third to lowest Chindex, or third to highest Chindex rather, 0.56, 27 out of 29 in the division. Macy on the other side, 5'11", 72-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 30 years old, 7-1 professionally, 5-1 in the UFC. Half of her professional fights have gone the distance. She has finished 2 by way of knockout and 2 by way of submission. Average fight time 10 minutes. 13.63 ass whoop index, so even higher than Aspen Ladd. 0.78 power index, even higher than Aspen Ladd. And a perfect Chindex of 0. Aspen opened minus 250. She's currently minus 203, so some money coming in on Chiasson, who opened at plus 210, currently plus 166. This fight is a plus 150, does not go to decision. I am currently capping this barely for Aspen Ladd. It's pretty much a pick'em. Minus 110 to plus 110. Well, I guess a pick'em for Aspen Ladd. But yeah, I'm kind of leaning Chiasson on this one, I guess, but I'm not touching it as far as betting goes. Finish numbers. So a decent amount of finishes for these ladies. And some striking numbers here. 5.2 strikes landed per minute for Aspen Ladd at a 55% accuracy. Those are top 10 numbers. Gets hit, however, with quite a few shots. 4.84 per minute at a 46% defense. That's bottom 10 numbers. For a 0.38 significant strikes landed per minute differential, 12th highest in the division. 1.39 striking efficiency, and she's only spent 28% of her total fight time fighting at distance. She has 1 knockdown and 1 knockdown against. Macy on the other side, lands 4.16 strikes per minute, 49% accuracy, gets hit with 2.17 strikes per minute at a 46% defense, so much better defense there. For a big-time striking differential, 1.99 strikes landed per minute, 5th highest in the division. Negative efficiency, she has spent 32% of her total fight time fighting at distance, 2 knockdowns for, none against. Basic takedown data, 6 for 8 for Aspen Ladd. She lands 2.45 per 15 minutes at a 75% accuracy. Top 5 numbers there. Gets hit with less than 1 takedown per 15 minutes at a 67% defense. 1.63 takedowns landed per 15 differential. That is the 5th highest number in the division. Macy, on the other side, lands less than 1 takedown per 15 minutes at only 21% accuracy. Gets hit with 1.2 takedowns per 15 minutes, 64% defense. Negative takedown differentials, negative 0.24. So, got to give the takedown category to Aspen Ladd. Control time, pretty even for these ladies. 44% control time for Aspen Ladd, 27.5% against. 71% of her total fight time has come inside the distance, and she has controlled 61%, 62% of that fight time. These numbers are almost identical for these ladies. Chiasson on the other side, 44% control time, 23% control time against, 68% time fought inside the distance, and she's controlled 65% of that control time. So very close numbers there. You got to give if you're nitpicking, you got to give the edge to Chiasson in the control time. Let's see here. Chiasson pulling off a few reversals as well, 3 to be exact in her career. Striking, accuracy, and defensive numbers are going to go to Aspen Ladd, but the volume numbers are going to go to Chiasson. That's usually what you see here. It's hard to have both, fellas. Macy, negative efficiency as far as striking goes, almost across the board. Aspen Ladd, a few negative numbers as well. Huge head striking differential for Aspen Ladd, and then a couple of big negative numbers. Chiasson, over 1 strike difference per minute to the body. Fantastic. 3rd highest body strikes percentage. 74% of all strikes Macy throws are to the head, 24% to the body, and 2 to the legs. Aspen Ladd, much more of a headhunter. And then in the last 5, we can take a look. Ladd's numbers will be the exact same. Chiasson, a little bit better than Ladd for the most part. Strikes per minute differential, huge number. Control time and takedowns do lean towards Ladd. Macy barely with the higher ass whooping index, lower power index, but the perfect chindex. And then the last 5 compared to the career, Macy trending up in 5 of 8 of these categories here. Strength of schedule is going to lean towards Aspen Ladd. Macy, not a good strength of schedule here in her last 5. Aspen, 4-1 in her last 5, did lose to Jermaine Durandamy. Chiasson lost to Landsberg, whom Ladd has beaten in her last 5. TKO victory. Trending down in striking is Ladd, while her opponents trend up, but the control time and the takedown numbers much better than her opponents. Chiasson trending way down as far as her striking goes, but she is doubling up her opponents. Takedowns are improving, and control time way above her opponents as well. Visual statistical recap, looking pretty good for Aspen Ladd here. As far as finishes go, Chiasson has never been finished, and Ladd with the much better strength of schedule. And then the aggregate win, loss, and finish rates as we talked about. And we'll keep it moving. Next fight on the main card. Misha Cirkunov, if I could spell correctly. I feel like I cannot spell correctly. There we go. Oh, at least I didn't have to spell Krzysztof Jotko. Misha Cirkunov, middleweight fight going against Jotko. 6'3", 77-inch reach. Orthodox fighter. Cirkunov, 34 years old, 15-6 professionally, 6-4 in the UFC. 10% of his fights go the distance. 42% do not, or 42, I should say, have end by way of KO, TKO. 5 wins, 4 losses, and then 47.5% end by way of sub. 8 wins, 2 losses. Average fight time for Cirkunov just under 4 minutes. My goodness. 14.61 ass whoop index. Does not have any knockdowns and has a terrible Chindex. In fact, this is at middleweight. So yeah, second highest Chindex at middleweight. Second worst, 2.42. Jotko on the other side, 6'1", 77-inch reach. And it does look like Cirkunov is moving down to middleweight for this fight, just for the record. Jotko, southpaw fighter, 32 years old, 22-5, professionally 9-5 in the UFC. Most of his fights do go the distance. 29% have been ended by KO TKO, 6 wins, 2 losses, and he does have 1 sub win, 1 sub loss on his record as well. Average fight time in the UFC, 12.9 minutes, 2.94 ass whoop index, 0.38 power index, and a pretty poor 0.5 Chindex, but not as poor as Misha Cirkunov, who did open plus 140, currently plus 142. Jotko minus 160, currently minus 172. This fight is a minus 135, doesn't go to decision. And currently, I guess I'm capping it for Cirkunov, just barely, according to my numbers here. So that'll be interesting, capping it for the underdog here. Some finish win numbers, finish statistics. Most of Jotko's fights have gone to decision in the UFC. And most of Cirkunov's fights have finished by either submission win. Actually, he's never had a decision loss or a decision in the UFC. Cirkunov's either won by finish or lost by finish. And there are all the finish numbers there. 5 of them. 5 in the first round between them as far as wins go. 9 first round finishes between them. So, can you say fight doesn't go to decision? Striking data, 4.18 shots landed for Misha per minute at a 51% accuracy, 3.22 landed against per minute at a 60.5% defense, just under 1 strike landed per minute differential, 11.78% striking efficiency. Misha has spent 59% of his total fight time fighting at distance. No knockdowns for, 3 knockdowns against. He gets knocked down on average 1.17 times per 15 minutes. Jotko striking numbers, 2.94 landed per minute at a 41.5% accuracy. Gets hit with only 2.2 landed per minute against at a 57% accuracy. Differential of 0.74 strikes per minute. That is 24th highest in the middleweight division. Negative efficiency, spends 55.8% of his total fight time fighting at distance. Jotko has 2 knockdowns on his UFC record and 2 knockdowns against. Basic takedown data. Offensively, Cirkunov lands 4.28 takedowns per 15 minutes at a 58% accuracy. Top 10 numbers there. Defense, not so much. Well, it's not bad. 0.78 takedowns per 15 landed against at a decent 71% takedown defense. With a differential of 3.5 takedowns landed per 15. That is 8th highest in the middleweight division out of 69. 29% efficiency as far as takedowns go for Misha Cirkunov. Jotko, not great numbers. His takedown defense is very good, though, 87%. So we're not sure if Misha's going to be able to take down Krzysztof very many times here. Control time data. Misha is basically 2-1, 26% for, 14 against. Spends 40.67% of his total fight time fighting inside the distance, and he does control 65% of that fight time. Jotko on the other side, basically 1-1 control time, 22.7% for, 21.5% against. Spends 44% of his total fight time fighting at distance and only controls 51% of that fight time. So just over half. Just barely. Reversal data, few reversals for and against for both of these guys. That's an interesting number I'm going to have to look at. And then what's jumping out to me here? As far as defense and accuracy goes, it's pretty much Cirkunov everywhere. Volume to the head is definitely Cirkunov. Striking efficiency, very good numbers from Cirkunov here. A couple of negative numbers from Jotko. The differentials, for the most part, all very good. Leg strikes and ground strikes are negative, but almost a full head strike per minute to the head, and almost a full head strike or distance strike per minute as well. And then the last 5 fight statistics, 2 and 3 for Cirkunov, 3 and 2 for Jotko. We're pretty much trading off here, offense to defense, as far as these numbers go. Both have a negative strike differential in the last 5, but Jotko is much closer to 0. Cirkunov has the better takedown differential. Jotko has the better control time differential. The ass whip index is not even close. Jotko by a mile. And this 3.51 Chindex from Misha Cirkunov is extremely concerning, especially going against a power guy like Krzysztof Jotko. But that said, Jotko has no knockdowns logged in his last 5 fights. As far as categorical trends, both of these guys are trending way down in most of their categories. In fact, Cirkunov's striking defense is almost down 20% full in the last 5. Strength of schedule is pretty good for Cirkunov. We're almost at 75, we're in 2 of these categories, almost 3. But Jotko has the much better strength of schedule as far as the last 5 professional fights go. Cirkunov has lost to Ryan Spann, Johnny Walker, and Teixeira. Has beat Jimmy Crute and Patrick Cummins. Jotko lost to Tavares and Strickland, 2 very tough guys. Beat Amadovsky, Anders, and Barrio. So everything seems to be in line there. Couple of graphs. Cirkunov trending down as far as striking goes. Trending down in takedowns, trending up in control time. Definitely has some work to do in the control time and striking. Pretty much doubling up his opponents as far as takedowns. Jotko trending up, but so are his opponents. Trending down in takedowns, but his opponents have never taken him down in the last 5. And then trending down in control time as well. And then the visual statistical recap. Looking pretty good for Jotko as far as strength of schedule, but it's Cirkunov as far as statistics go, other than takedown defense. And then the finish rates there. In the UFC, almost 50% of the fights have ended in finishes. 78% of the losses. That's the big number, I think. That's the big indicator of whether or not a fight's going to go to the distance or not. All right, let's keep it moving. Halfway through, Niko Price going against Cowboy Alex Oliveira. Welterweight fight. Niko Price, 6 feet tall, 76-inch reach, orthodox fighter. 31, almost 30. He'll be 32 in a couple of days, actually. 14-5, 6-5 in the UFC. 10.5% of his fights have gone the distance. He does have 10 wins by knockout, 3 losses, and 3 wins by sub, 1 loss. Average fight time is just over 7.5 minutes. Ass whip index of 1.58, that is 41 out of 67 in the welterweight division. Has a decent power index, just under 1, but that Chindex is a bit worrisome at 0.68. Alex Cowboy Oliveira, 5'11", 76-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 33 years old, 22-10-1 in the professionally rather, and 11-8 in the UFC. 27% of his fights do go the distance professionally. 39% of his fights have been stopped by KO TKO. 12 wins, 1 loss, and he has 5 submission wins, 6 submission losses on his record. Average fight time for Oliveira 9.5 minutes, 4.96 ass whip index, 1.10 power index, and pretty much even with Niko Price as far as Chindex goes. This fight opened at a pick'em, and Niko Price currently minus 135. This fight is a minus 180, does not go to decision. The closest capped fight on this card for me personally, barely have Oliveira edging out Price, but it's pretty much a pick'em for me as well. Finish data right there. You want to take a look. And then the by round finish data. 10 fights have been between these guys ended in the first round, 8 in the second, and 5 in the third. So lots of finishes going on here on both sides of the aisle. Basic striking data. Some top 10 numbers here from Price offensively. 5.29 landed per minute, 41% accuracy, 5.87 landed against per minute though. That is very bad. Fourth lowest in the division, or fourth highest in the division, I should say. 48.5% defense, negative differential. Negative efficiency, spends 71% of his total fight time fighting at distance. He does have 5 knockdowns on his record, 4 knockdowns against, however, as well in the UFC. Alex Oliveira lands 2.86 strikes per minute at a 50.5% accuracy. Gets hit with 2.23 strikes per minute, 48% defense, has a positive striking differential of 0.63 per minute. That is good for 30th out of 67 in the welterweight division. He has a negative efficiency as well. 40% of his total fight time has come at distance. He has 6 knockdowns in the UFC and 3 against him. As far as takedowns go, Nico Price, not great. 0.75 takedowns landed per 15 minutes, 20.8% accuracy. Gets 1.21 takedowns landed against him per 15 minutes, 66% defense. Negative efficiency there. Oliveira, 2.37 landed per 15 at a 37% accuracy. His defense is about the same as Nico Price, just a couple of points worse. Positive takedown differential, however, of 1.11 per 15 minutes, has the 10th highest takedown shooting rate in the division, 7.54%. Control time data. Nico Price is getting out-controlled 14% to 15%. Spends 29% of his total fight time fighting inside the distance and controls 49% of that grappling time. Cowboy Oliveira on the other side, let's see, 1.38 to 1 control time ratio, 34.6% to 25%. Spends just under 60% of his total fight time fighting at distance and controls just under 58% of that grappling time. So pretty good control time numbers there. Let's see here, a couple of reversals. The striking accuracy and defense pretty much goes to Oliveira. And then in almost every defensive category, it's going to go to Oliveira as well. Whereas Price has the volume as far as offense goes. Efficiency and differentials, this is all Cowboy Oliveira for the most part. I mean, we've got some pretty poor numbers here from Nico Price, getting outstruck from basically everywhere. And then the last 5 fight statistics comparison. This is pretty much going to go to Alex Oliveira until it comes to control time or reversals. Everywhere else, it's Alex Oliveira. Nico Price does land significantly more strikes per minute, however, 7.3 to 2.2. But he also gets hit with 7.26 strikes against. So gets hit with quite a lot of strikes. Oliveira does have that big negative ass whoop index in the last 5. Big power index, though, but also a big chin index, which you do not want to see. Categorical trends over the past 5. Alex trending up in half his categories, trending down in half his categories, and Price is trending down in most of his categories, improving his striking accuracy and striking volume per minute by 2 full strikes over his last 5. Strength of schedule is going to be Cowboy Oliveira, and it's not even close. Last 5 fight history. I mean, Cowboy lost to Shavkat, who is undefeated. Lost to Dalby, who has a pretty good record. Let's see here. Nico Price, a couple of graphs. He is trending up and pretty much even with his opponents as far as strikes go per minute. No takedowns to speak of, and that control time is below his opponents and trending down. Alex Oliveira trending up as far as striking, hanging on to that advantage he has per minute. Control time trending way, or takedowns trending way down, and control time trending down as well. Definitely has some work to do there. Visual statistical recap. Nico Price pretty much has it from the offensive or striking side. And then Oliveira as far as takedowns and grappling go. And then the strength of schedule as well for Oliveira. This one could definitely be a finish. Look at these finish numbers in the UFC. Over 76% for wins in finishes, or finishes in wins and in losses. And same with their professional career. So I think that one was minus 180, doesn't go to decision. So something to think about there. Kevin Holland as our co-main event of the evening, going against Kyle Daukaus. 2 Daukaus brothers fighting back-to-back weeks as well as the Shevchenkos here. Middleweight fight. Holland, 6'3", 81-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 28 years old, 21-7 professionally, 8-4 in the UFC. 42, almost 43% of his fights do get finished by way of knockout. 12 wins, 4 no losses, and he has subbed 5 guys as well. 2 sub losses for him. Ass whoop index of 3.39, a decent power index of 0.52, and a perfect chindex. Never been knocked down in the UFC. Kyle Daukaus, 6'3", 76-inch reach, so quite the reach disadvantage for Daukaus. Southpaw fighter, 28 years old, 10-2 professionally, 1-2 in the UFC. Never had a fight finish by KO TKO. Has 8 submission wins. A negative ass whoop index, negative 0.23, no power index to speak of, and a very high chindex, 0.72. That is 51st out of 69 fighters in the middleweight division. This fight opened at a pick'em somehow. That would have been nice, but still, might be able to get some money in on Holland if you're leaning that way. Minus 151 seems a little low. Daukaus currently plus 124. This fight is minus 120 goes to decision and minus 120 doesn't go to decision. My numbers are leaning towards Holland, but just barely right now. I need those inside the distance numbers, baby, and I'll get a more accurate take on things. Here are some round finishing data numbers. Round finishing data numbers, yeah. Good one, Monk. Kevin Holland, 3.9 strikes landed per minute at a 57% accuracy. Gets hit with only 2.54 per minute. 58% defense, a big differential. 1.37 strikes landed per minute. That is 10th highest in the division. 10th out of 69. Very good numbers there for Holland. 15% striking efficiency. Has fought just over half of his fight time at distance. Has 3 knockdowns for and no knockdowns against. Kyle Daukaus on the other side lands 2.8 strikes per minute, 48% accuracy, gets outstruck, 3.09 landed against per minute, 39.5% defense, negative 0.29 strikes landed per minute differential, 49th out of 69. Negative striking efficiency and has spent only 24.8% of his total fight time at distance as Daukaus. 0 knockdowns for. He has been knocked down 1 time in the UFC. Takedowns. Holland lands just over 1 takedown per 15 minutes. 40.7% accuracy. Gets hit with 2.93 takedowns per 15 minutes at a 50.85% defense. Not a good look there. He's only stuffed 30 out of 59 takedowns against him. He has a negative 8.41 takedown efficiency rating. Daukaus. 1.67 takedowns landed per 15 minutes at a 26% accuracy. Only 0.67 takedowns landed against per 15. 81.8% defense. Very good takedown defense for Kyle Daukaus. Has a very high takedown shooting rate, 7.25. 8% takedown efficiency. Very good there. Basic control time data. Kevin Holland's getting out controlled 2-1 here. 34% against to 15% for. 49% of Kevin Holland's total fight time has come inside the distance. He's only controlled 31.5% of that fight time. Kyle Daukaus on the other side, 1.5-1 control time ratio, 45.8% for to 30% against. Spends 75% of his total fight time inside the distance. And Daukaus has controlled 61% of that total fight time. Let's see. Advanced significant striking data. All of it is Kevin Holland. Almost every single category here that I'm looking at goes to Kevin Holland, and it's not too close. Same with efficiency. We are positive efficiency everywhere for Holland and negative efficiency everywhere as far as striking goes for Daukaus. And then the differentials, not even close as well. I mean, 1.25 distance striking differential per minute from Kevin Holland, almost a strike to the head difference. I mean, not even close. Kevin Holland, very good at mixing up his strikes, 71% to the head, 15% to the body, and 13% to the legs. Last 5 fights, Daukaus' numbers will be the same as above, as he only has 3 fights in the UFC. Kevin Holland needs to turn it around. His striking numbers look good, but his ass whoop index, negative 1.08. No power, no chin, though. That's very good. Has a good striking differential, but those takedown numbers and the control time numbers are looking pretty poor in Kevin Holland's last 5. In fact, these categorical trend numbers will tell you the same thing as far as takedowns go. And then the strength of schedule. This one's going to go to Kyle Daukaus, just based on his last 5 opponents, and their schedules. I mean, it is close. Kevin Holland doesn't have a terrible strength of schedule, but it's not great. I mean, he did lose to Vettori and Brunson, who have great records. But look at Jacare. He lost 4 out of his last 5, maybe 5. I don't remember. Charlie Oliveros lost a bunch out of his last 5. Darren Stewart lost a bunch out of his last 5. Meanwhile, Phil Hawes, I think he's undefeated in his last 5, maybe 4-1. Same with Brendan Allen. Same with Stoltzfus. So that's why you get those strength of schedule. How can this be? Well, because the guys Kevin Holland's beaten have not great records for the most part. That said, he still has a pretty good strength of schedule number. He's not fighting cans, if that's what you think I'm saying. I'm not saying that. Trending down as far as strength of schedule or significant strikes go, but he is outstriking his opponents, is Kevin Holland. Needs to work on that takedown game and the control time game as well. Control time game is not even close. Daukaus trending way up as far as strikes go, but so are his opponents. But he's got the takedown and the control time numbers that Kevin Holland does not have. So that's what you're going to see in this visual statistical recap as well. Daukaus never been finished. Holland has done much more finishing as far as knockouts go. Strength of schedule is Daukaus, and it's a little bit close, but not too close in a few categories. And then the aggregate win-loss and finish rates. This one has decision written all over it, in my opinion. Goes the distance, decision, whatever you want to say. All right, guys, last fight of UFC Vegas 38. We have Thiago Santos going against Johnny Walker. Light heavyweight fight to cap this one off. Santos 6'2", 76-inch reach, orthodox fighter, 37 years old. He is 21-9 professionally, 13-8 in the UFC. 60% of his fights have been ended by way of knockout, TKO. 15 wins, 3 losses. And he does have 1 win and 3 submission losses on his record as well. Average UFC fight time just over 8 minutes. He does have a top 10 ass whooping index in the light heavyweight division of 7.91. He has a 1.78 power index, top 10 as well, but a very high chin index for the division, 0.75. Johnny Walker on the other side, been just over a year since he's fought. 6'6", 82-inch reach, much bigger guy here. 29 years old, 18-5 professionally, 4-2 in the UFC. 78% of his fights have ended by knockout TKO. 15 wins, 3 losses. Same as Santos, actually. And he does have 2 wins by sub and 1 sub loss on his record as well. Average UFC fight time just under 4 minutes. Second quickest in the division. 1.96 ass whoop index. Top power index in the division. 3.53 for Johnny Walker. Also has the second highest chin index in the division of 3.80. So you give and take here with Johnny Walker. Santos opened -160, currently -173. Walker opened +132, currently +143. This is a pretty even fight for me, but right now I am leaning Santos. We'll see if that changes throughout the week. There are the finished numbers: 11 knockout wins for Thiago Santos. That is crazy. 4 for Walker in the UFC. There are the finished numbers there: 14 round 1 finishes between these guys, 4 in the second and 3 in the third. Plenty of finishes to go around for these two guys here. Basic striking data: Santos 4.27 strikes landed per minute, 48% accuracy. Gets hit with only 2.33 strikes per minute at a 55.5% defense. It's a huge striking differential of 1.94 strikes per minute, 5th highest in the division. 3.98% striking efficiency, and Santos has spent 65% of his total fight time fighting at distance. Johnny Walker on the other side lands 3.75 strikes per minute at a 77% accuracy. That is the second highest accuracy in the division. Gets hit with 3.49 strikes a minute at a 36.8% defense, so the second lowest striking defense in the division, for a just barely positive striking differential of 0.27 per minute, 20th out of 39. He does have a good efficiency, 14%, and he's only spent 24.25% of his total fight time at distance. Thiago Santos, 13 knockdowns, 1.14 per 15 minutes. That's the 8th highest rating in the division. 3 knockdowns against for him. Walker, 3 knockdowns for, and 3 knockdowns against for him as well. Basic takedown data. Thiago Santos lands only 0.7 takedowns per 15 minutes, 38% accuracy. His defense isn't great, but not terrible. 1.6 against per 15 at a 66% defense. Let's see here. Johnny Walker, no takedowns attempted, has stuffed 50% of the takedowns thrown against him. Basic control time, 15% for Santos, 20% against. And then Walker on the other side, 16% for, 60% against. So both of these guys getting out-controlled. Johnny Walker getting out-controlled in a major way. Has spent the most time fighting inside the distance out of all the light heavyweights I have in my spreadsheet, 76%. And he's only controlled 21% of that grappling time. Oof. Johnny Walker needs to be standing. Shouldn't be a problem against Thiago Santos, though. And offensively, Johnny Walker looking great, even in a couple of these defensive categories. You know, top 50%, even top 10% in a lot of these categories for the division. Striking efficiency and differentials looking very good for Johnny Walker. And some decent numbers for Santos. The differentials are where Santos really sees dividends. 1 strike to the head per minute. 0.67 strikes at distance per minute differential. And then a couple negative numbers for Walker, but just some smaller numbers as far as the differentials go. And then the last 5, which we can take a look at. Johnny Walker definitely needs some improvements here. A -5 ass whoop index. Striking differential is a 0. Takedown differential is crazy high. Control time differential, -48%. He has a crazy high power index and a crazy high chin index. I mean, it's all or nothing for Johnny Walker here, seems like. I mean, he's not improved in any category over his last 5. So he'll definitely be looking to do that in this one. Strength of schedule, it's really not bad for Johnny Walker, but Thiago Santos has the highest or second highest strength of schedule, depending on how you look at it, on this entire card. And it's crazy high. I mean, we're at 80s here. That's very, very good. I mean, he's lost to Rakic, Teixeira, and John Jones in his last 3. But he beat Jan, and he beat Jimmy Manuwa. Walker, coming off a win over Ryan Spann. Big losses to Krylov and Anderson. Big win over Misha Cirkunov and Justin Ledet. Definitely looking to keep those wins going is Johnny Walker. I'm looking for a reason to bet him here, but I haven't quite found one yet. And then as far as graphs go, Santos trending down as far as striking and takedowns and control time. Opponents are getting the better of him on the ground for sure, and we're pretty close in strikes as well. Johnny Walker trending down, identical, pretty much. Identical strikes landed per minute to strikes landed against per minute. Has no takedown game to speak of, and his control time definitely needs work, but he's been, getting majorly controlled by Ryan Spann and Nikita Krylov in his last 2 fights. And then the visual statistical recap, Santos here, pretty much dominating except for that striking accuracy. Win percentage and finishes is going to go to Walker. And then strength of schedule, like we discussed, is going to go to Santos, and he has the best one on the card. Aggregate win, loss, and finish rate. What are we looking at here? This one, leaning finish inside the distance. I mean, 88% of the UFC fight wins in the UFC have been finishes. 60% of the losses have been finishes. I mean, some crazy high numbers here. Mostly TKOs from these guys. I mean, you got 30 TKO wins between them in their, 39 professional wins. So that is pretty crazy. All right, guys, we did it. That's going to wrap up the main card breakdown for UFC Vegas 38, just under 45 minutes as we speak. Thank you so much for sticking around. Be sure to do your fight tape. You got to pair that fight tape with all these fantastic stats that I'm throwing your way. Merge those two together like a YKK zipper, baby, and you'll be staying warm this winter with all that money that you're taking in from those bookies while they're outside freezing to death, begging you for scraps. Say no scraps for you, bookies. Maybe next week, but probably not. Anyways, guys, it's getting late and I'm starting to sound like a crazy madman. So thanks again for sticking around. If you missed the prelim breakdown, I broke down all 7 fights on the prelim card for UFC Vegas 38. That is out now. And also be on the lookout for a couple of episodes of The Tipping Point coming your way. If you can't decide on a couple of fights where you're going to bet, where you want to put your money, hopefully by the time you watch that video, I will tip you in the right direction. So be on the lookout for that. Thanks again for hanging in there. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Have a great week, and we'll catch you on the next one, guys. Peace out.